Okay, there is an amazing trend in U.S. presidential elections, and it's very simple. Whoever gets the most searches in Google ends up winning. And this has happened in all the most recent elections. So here is the data comparing Kerry to Bush in 2004. You see the red line up above? That represents Bush. See, now what they do here is, you see the high peak all the way over here to the right? They just call that 100. And then the average search terms for a period of time, they give that another number relative to that 100. So Bush is a 24 and Kerry had a 17. So Bush had a higher search number, and he also had the highest peak over in October, right before the election. And Bush won, okay? Now let's go look at McCain and Obama in 2008. You see Obama, his search number was 13, and McCain was just 6, so it was about twice. And look at the October peak. Wow, Obama really crushed McCain there, and what happened in the end was Obama won. So here's the electoral votes, 365 to 173. And I'm going to come back to this ratio here. He's got basically more than double what McCain got, okay? So you had double what McCain got, and you look back at these numbers, and look at here, 13 to 6. So it's also a little more than double. So that's how well he did there. When I show you what I think Trump and Biden numbers are going to be, remember that ratio. So now, Obama and Romney. Look here again. Obama, the blue line, almost always above the red line. And when it come down to the October peak, Obama really crushed him. Now, it was a much closer race, 11 to 8, but he had the peak in October, and he had the overall numbers, and Obama won in 2012. Okay, here are the electoral votes. Show the breakdown of the map, and you've got 332 for Obama and 206 for Romney. Now let's go over to 2016, Trump versus Hillary Clinton. So you see here the numbers: Trump 10, Hillary just 4. People really weren't interested in Hillary. And now you come back and look at the big peak. You see the peak there? Boom. His peak was much larger than her. The interest was booming for Trump. So, and then Trump won. So here are the electoral votes: 306 for Trump and 232 for Clinton. The actual numbers were actually a little less because, and it's worth mentioning, some of the electoral representatives didn't cast their votes the way they were supposed to. So Trump ended up getting 304, and Clinton also got a lower number. So the numbers shown on this map, that's how it was supposed to go. Look at this map here. They were predicting Hillary Clinton for 69% to Donald Trump 31%. So all these maps you're seeing now about Biden and is going to win, don't put any trust in it. It's just ridiculous. Okay, so now here are the recent Google trends for Trump and Biden. This is what you're going to see. Look at this. Trump 20, Biden 8. It's a factor of 2.5. That's even more than Obama over McCain. And look at this spike over here, this huge spike for Trump. There's no expectation that Biden is going to win. None at all. Everything indicates that Trump will win. Okay, so here is a kind of a guess of what it might look like for a Trump win over Biden. But I think that the numbers are going to be even a little bigger, more slanted toward Trump. And again, because when Obama beat McCain, he had that 2.17 factor. Trump has a 2.5 factor, and his spike is way bigger than the spike of interest in Biden. People are not interested in Biden. If they come out and say a bunch of people voted for Biden, those people died 2 decades ago that are casting votes for Biden. Now I'm going to show you some statistics that are going to show you why Trump actually should have a higher number than that. What I did here was I looked up how much money each candidate spent all told on their election, and then I also put down their search in the second column here of data. I have their searches, what their search relevant factor was according to Google, and then I also made a ratio because I've seen in biometrics and some other business things, they like to take ratios of positive things to negative things, and those seem to have a much greater power in predicting an outcome. So I took a ratio of your own Google search factor divided by your opponent's Google search factor. So Bush, he had more searches, so he has a 133. Kerry, he had the lower number, so he gets a 0.75 factor. Okay, and then I ran a regression equation, and if you look down here in rows 13 and 14, Biden, Trump, in the bottom of the electoral votes column, you see it guesses way too high. Why? Because they're spending far. These numbers for money spent are far larger than any previous election. So it takes, even though it's like a 0.19 factor for the money, it really inflates the overall numbers. So what I did is I just took a fraction that each person is predicted to have, divided by the total, and then I just multiplied that by the true number, right? 538. And so you get an expectation of 192 for Biden and 346 for Trump. But the p-values weren't the best, and one of the numbers, I think, for the y-intercept was the t-stat was less than 2. So I didn't like that. So what I did is I came back and I said, well, you know what? Maybe I can't really double down on those Google numbers. So I just kept the ratio in the regression, and then I came up with an expectation of 232 for Biden and 306 for Trump, which is really close to what Trump and Hillary Clinton ended up with. And honestly, I think Hillary was polling better than Joe Biden. So that's how that worked. And then I tried one more thing. I said, you know what? But the money factor also didn't have a very good t-stat, and it had a kind of a high p-value. So what I did is I took that out, and I ran it with just the Google ratio. So if you try to predict the victor with just the Google ratio, and those numbers came out much better. So now, the t-stats very high, close to 4. The p-values, the lowest of any of the previous regressions I tried, and that predicts, and this is the one I like the best, Biden 203, Donald Trump 335, and that looks real close to what some of the expectation the realistic maps look like. If you check CNN or some of these other 270towin.com, they're showing these massive victories for Biden. That's completely absurd. There has to be some major expectation for why these powerful markers are going to be denied. There's no way. Trump might get twice as many electoral votes as Joe Biden. But this is the number I like. 335 Trump, 203 for Biden, barring any electoral representative shenanigans. And so that's my prediction, plus or minus something or other. Who knows? Okay, so this is the man from Desto, reminding you as always to pray or be defeated.